Well, hello, or should I say Guten Tag, and welcome to World Currency Collector. Today we're going to take a trip back in time and we're going to check out some Imperial German banknotes. Now, prior to 1873, the different German states, they issued their own private currencies, and most of them were backed by silver. But in an effort to unify Germany, the first mark was actually issued in 1873. And now it's actually known as the Goldmark to distinguish it from all other kinds of marks throughout history. It was actually backed by gold and not silver. And so that's why it's referred to today as the Goldmark. The German Goldmark was the currency used in the German Empire from 1873 to 1914, and banknotes were issued by the Imperial Treasury, known as the Reichskassenschein, in denominations of 5, 10, 20, and 50 mark. But also, there were banknotes issued by Reichsbank in denominations of 20, 50, 100, and 1,000. And the two notes that we have today were both issued by the Reichsbank. So let's take a look at what we have. Our first note here is a 100 mark from 1910. It's in pretty poor condition, but I'm not surprised considering it's 116 years old. Can you imagine who held this note in their hands? I can't help but wonder what on earth they bought with it. I mean, it's a big note, very large. Not the largest that I have, but still pretty big. This note has quite a lot of inscriptions on it. The main text here reads Reichsbank note, and then 100 marks. The Reichsbank Capital Treasury in Berlin will pay 100 marks to the depositor of this banknote. And then the date here, Berlin, on the 21st of April, 1910. Below that you can see the word Reichsbank Directorium, which is basically the German Director of Finance, with a bunch of the signatures here below. And at the very, very bottom, in the corners here, you practically need a microscope to read it, but it actually says, anyone who imitates or distorts banknotes or imitates or falsifies himself or herself is punishable by law. Basically, don't counterfeit. The serial numbers can be seen on the left and the right in red letters, and there are two red seals with eagles in the center. And all along the outside border of the note is the number 100 within the scrollwork. The man here that's featured on the left is Mercury. He's the Roman god of financial gain, commerce, eloquence, messages and communication, including divination, travelers, boundaries, luck, trickery, and thieves. He's also considered the guide of souls to the underworld. There are many things within our sphere of knowledge that were named after or at least inspired by the Roman god Mercury. There's the planet Mercury, the element Mercury, the Mercury dime, which is actually called a winged liberty, but everyone calls it the Mercury dime. And then, of course, the now defunct Mercury car brand from the Ford Motor Company. If you journeyed with us to Belgium in one of our previous videos, you'll already be familiar with the woman on the right side of this mark here. Her name is Ceres, and she was a goddess of agriculture, grain crops, fertility, and motherly relationships. Ceres was the inspiration for the word cereals due to her association with grains. The dwarf planet Ceres, William Shakespeare's character in The Tempest, and the element cerium were also all named after her. She also appears on the seal of New Jersey as a symbol of prosperity, as well as on several Confederate States of America $10 and $20 banknotes. The back of this 100 mark note has a portrait of Germania, and she's the personification of the German nation. She's kind of like Lady Liberty in the United States. She was used as an image of propaganda by Imperial Germany on this banknote. Germania is a robust woman. She has long, flowing reddish-brown hair. She always wears armor, and she wields the Reichsschwert, or the Imperial sword. She's got the sword over here, and on the other side, this is the medieval shield, which has the coat of arms for Imperial Germany, which features a black eagle. Her sword and shield indicate a symbol of power and a readiness to fight, while her imperial crown with the oak leaves is a symbol of heroism. Behind Germania is an old oak tree, and then off in the distance you can see a fleet of sailing steamships taking off. On the ground are a number of different items, including a catechus, which normally belongs to Ceres on the front of the note, but it's sitting back here. It's a short staff entwined by two serpents with wings on top. There's also an anvil, a plowshare, a large hammer, and a gear, all in this corner. Germany truly meant business when they issued this note. They were clearly giving a warning to anybody who wanted to oppose them. On the right side down here, you can see the number 100 with an M behind it for Mark. And the serial number is repeated twice again in red ink on the back of this note. I'd like to take a moment to mention that somebody decided it would be a good idea to put tape on this note many years ago. That's not a good idea. So I don't recommend trying to repair your notes if you're not a professional. Try and seek out some professional assistance. There's no way this tape will ever come off this note. The watermark on this note is Kaiser Wilhelm I. He's known more commonly as William I, and he was a very important figure in the history of Germany. He led the country through the dissolution of the Kingdom of Prussia and into the Empire of Germany during World War I. He's often described as polite, gentlemanly, and very conservative. His official titles were, from 1797 to 1861, he was His Royal Highness Prince William of Prussia. Then he became His Majesty the King of Prussia until 1871, when he became His Imperial and Royal Majesty the German Emperor King of Prussia. The second note we have is a 100 mark reprint. It looks like a gold mark, but it's actually not. When this note was printed back in 1908, it had either one or two red seals on it. But this reprint, which was done between 1918 and 1922, has green seals on it. And I'll post some links down below to some websites that show the variations of this note over time. So be sure to check that out if you'd like more information. And in the background, on the front of this 100 mark note, is the eagle. It's the imperial crest. It has this large, flashy imperial eagle back there. This figure from the German coat of arms has been used on many banknotes. He's also wearing the imperial crown up here, so we all know exactly how imperial he is. This particular note is dark blue with a light blue underprint. It's in pretty good condition considering it's about 100 years old. The serial numbers can be found along the left side and the right side in green ink, which matches the color of the seals. And the inscription on this note reads, Reichsbanknote, 100 marks. The banks of Berlin swear that this is a legitimately issued banknote. Berlin, February 7th, 1908, Director of the Reichsbank. And remember, this note was reprinted in the 1918 to 1922 range. So even though it says 1908, that's not when it was printed. And down below on the left, in really tiny letters, is another notice about counterfeiting and how it's going to get you in trouble with German authorities if you try it. I'd like to point out that the letters in the words Reichsbanknote and Mark seem to have changed between these two bills. And on the 1910 version, the letter K looks like the letter K as we know it. But as in this reprint from 1908, the K actually looks more like an F. And I don't speak German. I'm not sure why it changed. But if you have some more information about the letters F versus K in German, please make a comment below and let us know why it changed. The back of this note really stands out because of its graphic nature. Other than the number 100 up in the corners, there's no text at all. And there are 3 women pictured. In the center is the robust Germania again. She's held up by the allegories of industry on the left and agriculture on the right. An allegory is a metaphor whose vehicle might be a character, a place, an event, or something representing real-world issues and occurrences. Allegory has been used widely throughout history in all forms of art, largely because it can illustrate complex ideas and concepts through a picture. And the watermark on this bill is simply the number 100, seen near the top of the note from the obverse side. The Goldmark was stable until 1914 because it was backed by actual gold. During World War I, it was replaced by something called the paper mark, which was backed by nothing. So hyperinflation quickly ensued, and the paper mark was replaced by the Reichsmark in 1924, followed by the Deutschmark in 1948. And the Deutschmark reigned until 2002, when Germany switched to the euro. But those other marks will have to wait for another episode. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking this trip back in time to Imperial Germany with me. I hope you've learned something today, and I encourage you to share your thoughts about these notes in the comments. So until next time on World Currency Collector, auf Wiedersehen!